Hello, my name is Lakeisha Gathers Flowers, and I am a member of Les Jim Incorporated, and I am from the Northern Virginia chapter. In celebration of Les Jim Inc.'s National Literary Arts Month, I have the pleasure of interviewing Lauren Poteat, who will be sharing how she became a writer, what inspires her creativity, and why literary arts awareness is important. Lauren, thank you so much for joining me for this discussion. Please share a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you, Lakeisha, for having me here today. Again, my name is Lauren Poteat from the North Bethesda, Maryland area. I've been a member of Les Gems for just shy of 2 years. I currently serve on the National Protocol Committee, as well as the Literary Arts Committee. And last year, I had the pleasure of receiving the New Member of the Year Award. So I'm super excited to be here and so excited to talk about books and reading and writing and all that great stuff.
So Lauren, when did your love for writing begin? What inspired that creativity?
I love books. I love children's books. When I was a child, I always had a book in my hands. We went to the library regularly. And I always said that one day when I got older, I was going to write children's books. I didn't know quite what I was going to write about, but I just knew that one day I too would be an author of children's books. I love books. I love the reading circle when you come in and you sit down and you hear the teacher read the book, how you go over the book and take it apart. I've read so many books cover to cover, the same book over and over and over again. I love to read.
So Lauren, any tips to share or like how the process of developing a storyline happens?
You know what? I think the best way or the best process to develop a really genuine storyline is to talk about what you know. Talk about your experiences. As people say, get a little vulnerable with your emotions and your thought process. And don't be afraid to jot down whatever ideas come to mind, just like jot them down and then expound upon those ideas. It doesn't have to be a perfect draft. That's why it's called a draft. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time or the second time or the 20th time. It's perfect when it feels right. And you know when you're writing something really well or really, really good because it feels good when you're writing it. It feels right.
So what are some of the challenges or fears that you encounter while writing? How do you overcome that for those who have anxiety about just taking the pen to paper and getting started?
Well, I can say when I put my book out, I put it out for me. I put it out for me and whoever else could resonate with what I wrote. But I was nervous that, it would be well received or not, if people would understand what I was writing, what I was talking about, because I understood, I wrote it. But I wanted it so that when you read it, you could easily understand as well and feel like you too were a character in the book or in that writing process. So I think that's, for me, one of the biggest challenges is to write it so that everyone can take away from it what they need to or what seems the best fit.
So do share some of your favorite writers and books that you love to read.
I love this question. I have so many favorite books. And of course, Dr. Seuss. I love Dr. Seuss. I love Dr. Seuss because his books, the rhyming is kind of what helps you kind of take in what he's saying. But even though it's a picture book and the words are small, I think Green Eggs and Ham was 50 words or less, or he did exactly 50 words. But they always have these larger messages and meanings to them. So he's definitely one. I still read his books. I love Dr. Seuss. Verna Ardema is also one of my favorite writers. She's also a children's book writer. She's deceased now, but she did the book Why Mosquitoes Buzz in People's Ears, Bringing the Rain to Competing Plain. And these are books that I used to not only read, but recite out loud. So I know you mentioned earlier, you were saying, oh, your diction is pretty well. These books were books that my mother and my sister had me read out loud to help with pronunciation and how to recite and speak well. And she's American, but she specialized in writing books centered around African fables, African proverbs, and kind of bring it to the forefront or the mainstream. And my favorite book of all time, though, is by Harper Lee, To Kill a Mockingbird. That's my favorite book of all time. And so off the top of my head, those are some of my favorite writers.
Lauren, you are an author and published. Do tell us why giraffes don't talk to ants and more about your published works.
So for my children's book, it came out in the fall of 2020. Wow. Giraffes Don't Talk to Ants. And it's a play on words. The title is also the theme of the story. If you look at the cover, you say why giraffes don't talk to ants, you automatically assume, many people do, that people up here don't talk to people down here. And in theory, there's some truth to that. But if you look at the cover of the book, the ant is clearly talking to the giraffe. So how you perceive the meaning of that title, the meaning of that book, is dependent upon retrospect, whatever is going on in your glass house. But the way the book is written is that wherever you live, in whichever glass house, you're able to find meaning and nuances and symbolism in them to kind of bring more balance to your current lifestyle. And I also want to say have more empathy and more understanding for your collective and other people, and not be afraid to be brave and think outside the box and step across that line and do something different if it means bringing harmony to the greater good. Oh, but in reference to my other works, so yeah, I've been writing for a very long time. Writing was always one of my better subjects. Wasn't actually my favorite, but because I did well in it, my teachers and my mother had me continuously do like different writing courses and exercises and workshops. My favorite is history and science, actually, but like, what do they call it? Like physical science, more of like earth science, biology. But I was just always really great at writing, which makes sense because I was always reading. And when I was in high school, I actually joined our literary arts magazine club, which was called Uwantes. And that's where I first became a published author, a published writer, poems, literary works. And I actually was awarded an award with the Columbia Scholastic Press Association for an interview that I did off of an author's book. So they gave us the author's book, who was originally from Danville, Virginia, and we had to read it and interview him, and they put it in Uwantes, and it was submitted for an award, and we won like an merit award behind that. And then being in the DMV area, well, I went to school for English as well, so my degree is in English, but then being in the DMV area, I also started working as a journalist, and I got my start at the historic Afro-American newspaper, the Washington Informer, and various news outlets. And I also amassed other writing credentials with them as well.
So Lauren, why is literary arts awareness important, and what advice do you have for aspiring writers?
You don't have people to, writing is like the blueprint to everything. If you're somebody who loves music, there are lyrics. So somebody has to write those lyrics. Somebody has to think of this poetry. If you're an anchor on the news, they read scripts. Somebody has to put these words together. And if you get a story that comes in and it's like 10 pages long, but you only have 30 seconds to talk about it, somebody has to come in and condense it and write it. Even when you're playing sports, somebody has to write down the plays. Everything is focused and centered around writing. It's the blueprint, it's the cornerstone to everything. And so whatever path you choose to write, that's dependent upon you. You could be a scientist, somebody that works at NASA, even with money. It all depends upon you, but it's the backbone to everything. And I also just want to emphasize arts, like the idea of arts. Not only is it just a great tool Where they say the pen is mightier than the sword. Not only is it a great tool, but it also helps stimulate creativity, positivity, and it allows an outlet for you to express yourself however you best see fit.
Thank you so much for sharing your passion, your love for writing. You truly have a gift. Please tell us where we can purchase some of your works, and we'd love to see more of your creativity out there. I hope to start writing as well. I journal, so this has truly been inspiring for me, and I hope it's really helped others out there gain a little confidence in their writing. And we are calling on everyone to celebrate Les Gems Incorporated's Literary Arts Month with your community, with your family, and friends by engaging readers, supporting writers, and introducing others to great literature. It has been a pleasure. Stay writing, stay focused, keep reading, and most importantly, have fun and enjoy it.
Thank you, Jim Lakeisha, for having me here today. Yes, for those that are interested, Giraffes Don't Talk to Ants can be purchased online at Barnes & Noble as well as Amazon. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing with the Gems Incorporated around literary arts, youth development, and it has been a pleasure as always.